This video is from June, from late June. Pete Hegseth was talking about that Iran nuclear strike, and he was upset at the press for not celebrating, cheering it on, and acting like they should just coddle his ass and not ask questions and determine what it is that really happened. This means a lot for what's happening literally today. Here's a flashback.
Because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard. It's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump. Because you want him not to be successful so bad, you have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes. You have to hope maybe they weren't effective. Maybe the way the Trump administration has represented them isn't true. So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information, and then spin it in every way we can to try to cause doubt and manipulate the public mind over whether or not our brave pilots were successful. How many stories have been written about how hard it is to, I don't know, fly a plane for 36 hours? Has MSNBC done that story? Has Fox? Have we done the story how hard that is? Have we done it 2 or 3 times so that American people understand? How about how difficult it is to shoot a drone from an F-15 or 16 or F-22 or F-35? Or what it's like to man a Patriot battery? Or how hard it is to refuel midair? Giving the American people an understanding of how complex and sophisticated this mission really was. There are so many aspects of what our brave men and women did that because of the hatred of this press corps are undermined because your people are trying to leak and spin that it wasn't successful. It's irresponsible. And folks in this room are privy to that information because of the proximity here in the Pentagon. It's an important responsibility. And time again, classified information is leaked or peddled for political purposes to try to make the president look bad. And what's really happening is you're undermining the success of incredible B-2 pilots and incredible F-35 pilots and incredible refuelers and incredible air defenders who accomplished their mission, set back a nuclear program in ways that other presidents would have dreamed. How about we celebrate that? How about we talk about how special America is, that only we have these capabilities? I think it's too much to ask, unfortunately, for the fake news. So we're used to that. But we also have an opportunity to stand at the podium and read the truth of what's really happening. And the reality is you want to call it destroyed, you want to call it defeated, you want to call it obliterated, choose your word. This was an historically successful attack, and we should celebrate it as Americans. And it gives us a chance to have peace, chance to have a deal, and an opportunity to prevent a nuclear Iran, which is something President Trump talked about for 20 years, and no other presidents had the courage to actually do.
How many secretaries of war? Which kinds of secretaries of war do you see stand in front of the media and say, it's your fault? You guys don't celebrate us enough. Where are the fluff pieces? When are you going to start ignoring the reality and stop asking questions about how did that happen when A and B don't match up to then equal what it is that it should? Asking questions is something that this administration hates. I just talked about how Donald Trump dismissed this Politico reporter because she asked a second question. He goes, she asks a lot of questions.
First war tariffs on China. Are you considering walking that back?
Who are you with?
Politico. Dasha Burns, sir.
Dasha Politico. Politico's gone bad. They've been so wrong about everything. Politico has been so wrong about everything. Let's get somebody else to ask some questions. You mind? Is that all right? Because Politico is fake news.
You're fake news. Do you see the pattern here? But this was back in June, like I said. Pete Hegseth was incensed that anyone asked questions about their strike on nuclear facilities in Iran, which, there was lots of questions about the effectiveness of those strikes in Iran. Maybe that's why his feathers were all ruffled up. But of course, as usual, everyone talks about what's going to happen. And this fascist regime does something right after talking about what it is that they're going to do. Just last month in September, this is now what he's doing because he's still upset at those damn journalists doing, journalism. Going forward, journalists must sign a pledge not to gather any information, including unclassified reports, that hasn't been authorized for release. Using the rebranded Department of War acronym, the 17-page document obtained by NPR outlined the new rules for the media that says those who fail to obey the new policy will lose their press credentials, cutting off access to the headquarters of the largest department in the U.S. government. The Department of War remains committed to transparency to promote accountability and public trust. However, the DOW information must be approved for public release by an appropriate authorizing official before it's released, even if it's unclassified. Journalists don't get anything unless we give it to you. And if you don't sign on to this pledge of a lack of a freedom of press, then you're out of here anyway. That's honestly what is that they're looking for. And if anybody signs on to it, then they'll be happy. And if they don't sign into it, they'll also be happy because they'll get rid of them. A little bit more on this. So according to that document, journalists who report on news outside of explicit commands, I'm going to say it again, outside of the explicit commands of the Pentagon must be deemed a security or safety risk and have their credentials stripped. Writing about this shift, Pete Hegseth posted on Friday on social media that the press does not run the Pentagon. The people do. Which people? Earlier this year, Hegseth announced new rules limiting reporters' ability to move freely through the Pentagon without an approved escort, a change that broke years of tradition in both Democratic and Republican administrations. This is fascism. This was the beginnings of the takeover. So then once they're doing illegal things in the streets and sending military into our American cities to kill more American citizens, the idea then is to have no one ask questions, talk about it, discover what it is that they're doing before they do it, or even after they do it. It's indiscriminate, lawless behavior from a military leader who was actually a Fox News weekend host, couldn't even make the weekday shows. So now this is what's happening as of today. So we're going to see by 5 o'clock today Eastern time if and when and how this will all be put into place. This is where they're going. The Pentagon is telling beat reporters to sign restrictive new rules by Tuesday. Today's Tuesday. Or they surrender their press passes by Wednesday. Virtually every news outlet is rejecting the ultimatum and saying that they will not sign. Oh, okay, that's probably what they want. The Pentagon Press Association, a body that represents the beat reporters, says that the new policy championed by Pete Hegseth gags Pentagon employees and threatens retaliation against reporters who seek out information that has not been pre-approved for release. So in a statement just yesterday, the association said that potential expulsion from the Pentagon should be a concern to all. How much have we been hearing about this? Considering that this expulsion should be a concern for all, as you know, this governing, overseeing body for this group of journalists has said, how much is it actually a concern for all? So these are some of those news organizations that I guess you can be proud of. Representatives from CNN, Reuters, the Associated Press, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Atlantic, and NPR have all said that journalists from their newsrooms are not signing this new paperwork about Pentagon access. But let me give you guys a surprising piece of news that I'm not sure if it's going to hold. We'll see. I'm going to keep an eye on this. But media reporter Eric Wimple added that Newsmax would also disappoint the administration despite being a reliable Trump booster. Quote, Newsmax has no plans to sign this letter. We're working in conjunction with other media outlets to resolve the situation. We believe the requirements are unnecessary and onerous and hope that the Pentagon will review the matter further. Well, what do you know? Newsmax is not signing on. They're joining with those other legacy media organizations that you know how they always do. You know, not always, but at times want to go ahead and follow normal journalistic practices, especially when it comes to this Pentagon, this Department of War that wants trillions of dollars from us. You know, he keeps talking about how he's raising the amount of money that he's giving to the military for more of our money, as then we get less representation, less reporting, less access to knowing what it is that they're doing with our money. Shouldn't that piss off most Americans? I thought Americans always talked about how we don't want to have our money go to something that we don't get any representation for or have any information about. From this Department of War, where the head of it, in between shots, said it's going to be the most transparent Department of War in history as they shed media organizations. Here's the unsurprising media organization that has signed on to this. One America News has agreed to adhere to the policy. Former Representative Matt Gaetz, who now is a host at the network, defended this decision. He says, frankly, I'm shocked that these weren't already the rules. It's the Pentagon, he says. OANN is happy to follow these reasonable conditions grounded in care for our national security. All Matt Gaetz did there was lick the boot and then tell everyone how much he enjoys the taste. I can't believe this wasn't the rule before. I can't believe everyone wasn't kissing Pete Hegseth's ass before. This is the post that Pete Hegseth put out, that Matt Gaetz was on the ground on his hands and knees licking up with his tongue. Pete Hegseth said Pentagon access is a privilege, not a right. So here's Department of War press credentialing for dummies. Here's the 3 aspects. Press no longer roams free. Press must wear a visible badge. Credentialed press no longer permitted to solicit criminal acts. Done. Pentagon now has same rules as every U.S. military installation. In other words, no more freedom of the press. It's almost like it's one of those hallmarks of a fascist administration. A fascist administration that has now taken over the Pentagon with a weekend Fox News host that doesn't know what the hell he's doing, except for carrying out the unlawful orders of this fascist president and calling it, I guess, safety, security. Does anyone feel safe or secure not knowing what these folks are doing as they keep talking about how they're going to, kill American citizens and use our cities as training grounds? Don't forget all the stuff that they've said up to this point. Here's the last few slides, because this really shows who Pete Hegseth is and how hard he's working at the Pentagon. These 3 organizations, The Atlantic, posted about reasons why they're not going to go along with this. If you can see, Pete Hegseth responded to their note and their post about this with a waving hand emoji. There's another one. The Washington Post also put forward their communication and detailed and explained why they're not going to follow these rules and these orders as well, too. You won't be surprised to see that, Pete Hegseth did the same thing, put a waving hand emoji to the Washington Post as well. And lastly, the New York Times did it too. Of course, in response, Pete Hegseth put another waving hand emoji. So what does he work on? The Department of War, the Secretary of the Department of War, is celebrating the departure of news organizations that would normally cover the things that's going on in the Pentagon, because it's obvious the whole purpose for this ridiculous rules was either fall in line and be completely toothless, or don't fall in line and not be there anyway, and we can continue to run roughshod and no one gets as much information or the real information that's going on from the Pentagon. Because as this idiot said from the beginning, why aren't you guys in the media celebrating us?